All right, and we are live. Hello, Knockout Nation. You're watching Knockout TV show, and I'm your host, Noel Clubb, and welcome to Spangler Sports World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Of course, folks, please remember to Zingo, of course, sorry, download the Zingo TV app today for folks for respective iOS and Android app stores, as the app is absolutely free. And while you download, please make sure to rate and leave us a comment because we always want to hear from you, folks. We sure absolutely do. And Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks. Roku and Roku sticks are also available on all smart TVs from 2016 forward. Well, thank you to the viewers watching Knockout TV show around the world. Thank you, as always, folks, for joining us. Always great to have you on. And moving on to our super duper knockout panel here today, folks. First off, he is a very insightful boxing predictor and analyst. Joins from, of course, New York, USA. Please welcome, joins live from New York City, the boxing prophet himself, Mr. Richard Solomon, to the show. Welcome, Richard. How you doing, sir?
How you doing, guys? Always a pleasure to be on the Knockout TV show. And I got to tell you, last night, there was no boxing at all on television. So I was momentarily suffering from boxing withdrawal. But that was okay because, on Friday night, one of my good friends from high school is in a Pearl Jam tribute band.
Oh, very cool.
And as you all know, Pearl Jam, if not my favorite, would definitely be one of my, top 5 favorite rock bands of all time. So I went to see him. They played a lot of, good songs, and it was fun. And, just got back from a dip in the pool. And I left my nephews there, and I told them in no uncertain terms, don't come back to the house. Uncle Richie's going on the greatest boxing TV program of all time, the Knockout TV show, with his posse. And, of course, they won't listen to me, so I'm expecting any minute now they'll probably come running in. Uncle Richie, come downstairs and watch the Yankee game with us. Uncle Richie, bring us the Burger King. So something's going to explode within the next, hopefully, I should say, nothing will explode in the next 45 minutes.
Very good. But yeah, thanks for that warning. Yeah, definitely understood there. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, hey, once again, thanks for course joining us here on the show, sir. New York, right on out, as always. Thank you, sir. And moving on here, we're actually waiting for Kirk Johnson, Cyron Johnson, that is, and potentially Steve Beaupre. We're still waiting for those two to possibly show up here. But next up here on the show, he's a former amateur boxer and the owner, head coach of No Excuses Boxing Fitness, which is located in beautiful Burlington, Ontario. Please welcome the very awesome, the very cool Ryan Ranelli to the show. Welcome, Ryan. How you doing?
Very good, thank you. Thanks, Noel. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Whenever you ask me on, I'm always flattered and a little curious, suspicious. Like, what? Hold on, isn't there don't you have like a long lost cousin that you could ask to be on the show instead of me?
Well,
But
actually,
I'm flattered.
You're my long lost cousin in
okay,
the boxing world. Yeah.
Right. Awesome.
No, actually, because you're a very experienced guy. So you're experienced in boxing, been around a long time. You're out of a family. You're out of a family of boxers. So to me, in my perspective, you add a lot in terms of perspective and insight. So I think you're always a great addition out of a great town as well.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that might be. That might be a good reason to get my Uncle Billy on the show one of these days.
Do. Yeah.
He's had a ton of experience. I'm not going to tell you his life story. I'll wait for him to do that. But I always love hearing the story about him winning the Hawaiian Golden Gloves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because back then there's none of this like fight once every 24 hours, right? You could fight as many times as you needed to in a day.
Yeah, that's right.
And so to win the Hawaiian Golden Gloves, he had to win 2 fights on Monday. He went ahead and won 2 fights on Tuesday. He got a bye on Wednesday, and then he won the finals on Thursday. So that's
crazy.
Crazy. That's the kind of stories that he could tell. So might be a good guy to get on one of these days.
Great addition. He'd be a great addition to the show. Yeah. What a crazy experience that is. We think, just think of that. It's like 4 fights right off the bat in 2 days. You got more to come.
Wild. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
and they're all big
yeah,
matches. Not one
yeah,
easy one there.
for sure. And he's good friends with Steve Beaupre too, so I'm sure
Yeah,
they could go back and forth.
small world, eh?
Yeah.
Just like the show, tell me it's this big world, small here on the show as well. So very cool, very cool. Excellent, boys. Well, hey, moving on to the world of boxing. Topic number one, round number one is discussing Anthony Joshua, the former heavyweight champion. He knocked out Robert Helenius with a devastating and brutal right hand in the seventh round on Saturday, August the 12th at the O2 Arena in London, England. And of course, Robert's case, Robert Helene's case, he accepted the fight actually in 1 week's notice. So we had this 1 week to prepare for this matchup. Of course, tough matchup for a chap like himself against Joshua. And of course, it sets up the potential matchup between Joshua and, of course, Deontay Wilder, which would be, of course, our main focus later on these questions here. But first off, folks, will AJ fight Deontay Wilder next? Or do you see some other plans unfolding first? We'll go over to, over Ryan first. Ryan first, sir.
Yeah, so I guess you want to hear my thoughts on the fight first.
Yeah, far away.
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, before things took a turn for the worst, Helenius actually, I felt like he was doing a couple of things right. He was landing the jabs to the body, quite a bit, and he was land a right hook to the body as well that seemed to have a little success, although it wasn't bothering Joshua at all. It wasn't anything that he was bothered by even in the slightest. But it was interesting to see that they were boxing very similarly, and so Joshua was also having some success with that jab to the body and the right hook to the body. So interesting fight. Joshua's game plan was simple, but I don't mean that as a negative thing.
Right.
Very simple, straightforward, but super effective. He was sticking that jab to the body. He was landing the right hook to the body. And then at some point when he started getting some respect from that jab to the body, he started getting responses. You saw he turned on the feints nicely, and then used his right glove to block the punching lanes for Robert's jab hand.
Yeah, there, yeah.
And he was nailing that jab through the middle of the guard, which was, as you guys know, bloodied up Robert's nose, so made things really difficult for him to see. So that was really effective, really nice stuff. Simple boxing, right? Nothing.
Yeah, very exactly.
Nothing fantastic, but nothing. Yeah, nothing. Flashy, but just really nice stuff. And then when those feints started working, right, then he started finding a place for that feint right hand over top, and then it was ultimately what did the job.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful work by Joshua.
Yeah.
Valiant effort by Robert, but I don't think he's on the same level as Joshua.
So true, right? That's really the main point there for sure, is the fact that there are obviously boxers in different levels in this case for sure, going head to head. But yeah, I totally agree that watching the good, really, you're basically describing there is a good basics in terms of blocking and countering, and of course, it's good offense with Joshua as well. So it's
beautiful, yeah.
In that case, absolutely. But I totally agree. Robert Helenius is not the same level as Joshua. Well, hey, over to, of course, in New York City, the boxing prophet. What are your thoughts? Will AJ be fighting Deontay Wilder next, or what's your thoughts here on this one?
Yeah, I think we have to be honest here on the show. It's 4 uninspiring performances in a row by Anthony Joshua. If you include the 2 losses back-to-back to Usyk, and then the uninspired performance he turned in against Jermaine Franklin. He dominated Robert Helenius. It's obviously a knockout of the year candidate with the jab to the body and the overhand right. That was brutal. People forget, when we last saw Robert Helenius, he was knocked out in the first round by Deontay Wilder in a
Yeah,
punch
great
that
point.
I had to rewind it like 5 times. I'm like, did Wilder land that shot? That's how hard Deontay Wilder hits. I'm like, I didn't even see the punch. And I had
I'm
to
pretty
rewind it like 50 times.
pretty sure he was
Um,
stepping back at the time too, if I remember correctly.
That's right.
yeah,
It's
and
so powerful stepping back. That's just so dangerous.
and also, let me say, a lot of people are down on AJ, and I guess rightly so, but you realize he does have a better resume in terms of quality of opposition than Tyson Fury, who's regarded as the best heavyweight out there now. I mean, he fought, even though he lost to Andy Ruiz, he did beat him in a rematch, but Fury never fought Andy Ruiz. And AJ also fought Kubrat Pulev, Jermaine Franklin, as I stated before, Alexander Povetkin, and Joseph Parker. These were all top 10, top 12 heavyweights when AJ faced them. So win, lose, or draw, we have to applaud AJ for at least, fighting the best available opposition that was out there for him.
Yeah.
I think for all intent purposes, even though he beat Vladimir Klitschko in one of the greatest heavyweight title fights you'll ever see, both men had to rise off the deck. I think that fight sort of pushed AJ to the edge of the cliff, and then the loss to Andy Ruiz knocked him off the cliff. Because ever since the fight against Klitschko and the first fight against Andy Ruiz, he hasn't been the same fighter. He's afraid to let his power shots go with conviction because he's quite nervous about what the other fighter is going to give back to him in response. He's tentative with his power shots. He's very robotical. He fights with this, cautious style. And, when he first came up, fighting in the heavyweight division, he was a Terminator. He was a seek and destroy type of guy. And that all went out the window after the Klitschko fight. You saw shades of it after the Klitschko fight. But since the Andy Ruiz loss, forget about it. It's been all, safety first. Let me throw my jab. Let me pick my spots. If the knockout comes, it comes. And if it doesn't, I'm happy to cruise to a decision win.
Yeah.
And, you can't fight that way. I was hoping the switch of trainers, with Derek James would help him improve. So? I just don't see it. As of now, I had originally heard that the AJ Wilder fight was scheduled for December. I'm thinking if it happens at all, they'll move it to January or February. I just don't see how with this new mentality, AJ can win the fight. He could box beautifully against Wilder. I mean, if you take a look at Wilder in terms of, styles making fights, 75-year-old Luis Ortiz dominated Deontay Wilder in their rematch for the first, 5 or 6 rounds, and he outboxed him. Remember, their first fight was epic. Both men hit the deck, and then Wilder stopped Luis Ortiz. Then they fought again, and Ortiz, who's really not known for being a boxer, he's more a puncher, just used his jab, lateral movement, and Deontay pretty much lost the first, 6 rounds. And then Wilder knocked him out in the 7th. So AJ could have success against Wilder if he does use this new, safety first approach. I'll jab, I'll hold, I'll move around the ring. But eventually he's going to have to try and earn Wilder's respect. He's going to have to hit Wilder, with his power shots. And I just think, it's only a matter of time before AJ's chin betrays him. Joshua's not known for having a great chin. He can get off the deck, but, Wilder's one of the 5 hardest hitting heavyweights of all time. So if it's not a knockdown, drag out fight like the third Wilder Fury fight was, where both guys get off the canvas multiple times, and it's a sort of like a Ron Lyle, George Foreman type of fight, I just see it being like the Wilder Luis Ortiz fight, where AJ gets off to. I'm assuming, by the way, that this fight should have Wembley Stadium written all over it. It's more money for both guys. It'll probably do like God only knows, like maybe over 100,000 people will show up. But I see, AJ maybe using his boxing skills and getting off to the early lead. And then just like the Luis Ortiz fight, somewhere around the 8th or the 9th round, Wilder eventually catches him with an overhand right, and AJ's just done. I just, unless AJ comes up with a better game plan and learns to have confidence in himself, I just see Wilder knocking him out probably somewhere in the middle rounds.
Yes, I would agree with that. I think Wilder would need some time to warm up, which would take the middle rounds for that to unfold. I agree with you 100%. And actually, those are great points you raised too. Talking about really really it comes down to the psychology of Anthony Joshua, which is good points. I found his confidence too in Anthony Joshua has definitely plummeted last little while. Let's face facts. Your comments about him being tentative in the ring, I totally agree with you 100%. I'm seeing the same thing too, which is a sign of lack of confidence in your abilities because now you've kind of been rocked by some people. You should have been rocked, technically on paper, Riaz shouldn't happen like that, but it did. So it rocks your confidence as a fighter of Anthony Joshua's stature. So I totally agree with you. I think lack of confidence is a huge factor moving forward for Joshua. And you got to have confidence to fight a guy like Deontay Wilder. Otherwise, you are in serious, serious trouble. So well put. Well put, sir. Well said. All right, guys. That was very well said. Very well said. So quickly, Ryan, so what would your prediction in terms of a Deontay Wilder, Joshua matchup? Who do you see winning? See a knockout decision? What would be your prediction if those guys face off and actually match up?
Yeah, my prediction would be a mid to late round knockout for Wilder. And that's me being very
conservative,
very generous. Yeah, very generous to Joshua. I mean, all the respect in the world. The guy's an Olympian.
Absolutely.
He's fantastic. But there's just different levels. He just doesn't have the goods to hang with the Wilder. And Wilder's gotten significantly better as a boxer too, through those 3 fights he had with Fury. So he can actually box a little bit more now than he could versus Ortiz.
Right.
I don't see, Joshua, he's going to get hit. He does get hit, and he's going to get hit. Wilder's going to be able to hit him. And I just can't see him being able to, first off, stay off the canvas and then get up off the canvas and still have the will to win versus Wilder. It's just, based on everything we've seen, in his fights against Ruiz, or his first fight against Ruiz, and then the Usyk fights, I just don't see him being able to go to the well. He's always if he's ahead, he's ahead. Like if he's like better than the other boxer, he'll comfortably outbox them. He's got all those abilities. But the second that we've noticed, or the second that we've witnessed a need for him to bite down on the mouth guard and kind of dig in a little bit, he's kind of failed that test multiple times. So so long story short, mid to late round stoppage for Wilder.
Well said. Yeah, I agree too. I think it'd be a slow start. If if that fight actually happens, it would be a slow start because it's pro fights do start off a little slower. But I think it'd be mid to late rounds. I think more mid round knockout for Wilder against Joshua. And again, we all appreciate and respect Joshua. A very skilled fighter, but I definitely think we all agree. Definitely confidence has definitely come down the last few fights, the last few years, and it's definitely to me it's showing in the ring. Yeah. The ring never lies. The ring never lies. She exploits everything about us. Yes, as athletes, where you're at, technically, mentally, emotionally, all those things.
The truth chamber.
Yeah, yeah.
And
go ahead.
If I could add just one more point, guys, Deontay Wilder was supposed to fight Andy Ruiz in some sort of heavyweight eliminator, and this has been going on for months and months. Andy Ruiz said, I want a 50-50 split. Deontay said, I'm the A side, you're out of your mind. And so just recently I read on social media that the powers that be canceled the fight altogether. So I'm thinking maybe Deontay knows something that we don't. And I know I'm supposed to be objective, and not openly root for someone, but I got to be honest, there's a big part of me that wants to see AJ pull off the upset against Wilder, Because let's say Wilder goes in there and knocks AJ out in 3 or 4 one-sided rounds. Some fans might be clamoring for Fury Wilder 4. And to be honest, I have no desire whatsoever to see them in the ring again.
No.
So at least, you know, if AJ can miraculously pull off the upset, then we could maybe see Fury against AJ. Because if we're keeping it real, Fury has gone out of his way to duck Usyk. So I don't think you're going to see that fight anytime soon. And so hopefully AJ can pull off, you know, the upset. We'll see Fury against AJ. And that also would be huge because I'm assuming that fight would also be held in England. If not England, Saudi Arabia, you know, where all the money is at. And then assuming Fury, you know, beats AJ, which I'm sure he would, the fans would absolutely demand that he face Usyk. The pressure for Fury to fight Usyk would be even more so if he were to demolish AJ. So the boxing fan in me sort of wants to see AJ pull off the upset over Deontay, only because there are more options. You know, there would be a bigger shakeup in the heavyweight division, more options per se.
Right. Which actually would kind of lead to what my point from I was thinking about from earlier, building on that point was with Usyk. Will we, you know, because you're saying yourself, Richard, that it probably won't happen, right? That's what you're saying. Usyk against Fury probably not happen. Is that what you're saying? Oh, Richard, can you hear me?
I didn't hear. Say that again?
Oh, so you're talking about with Tyson Fury and Usyk. You're saying that probably not happen in your opinion?
Looks like Fury. I think Richard was saying it looks like Fury's ducking Usyk.
Yeah, which has been the case.
Right. Yeah. So he doesn't have a lot of faith that that fight's going to happen. So he'd rather see Fury and Joshua, you know, rather than Wilder beating Fury. Joshua and then wanting to fight Fury again for a fourth time. So
because no one wants to see that fight happen again between Fury.
Honestly it's
rather pointless.
Done. It's done. It's for sure. like Wilder can't get that much better. He's already. I honestly think he's improved his boxing abilities like tremendously in that short period of time. You know in a couple of years. But there's there's only so much boxing ability that you can improve upon when your main weapon is that heater of a right hand or any punch for Wilder anyways.
Yeah.
So
and not to mention you're facing another higher level against Tyson Fury is definitely another level higher than Wilder is. So It's hard to. It really is truly hard. Once you're at that stage of your career, it's not like you're brand new, right? So you're still not develop as fast anymore. As I'm trying to say, you're at the end of your career, so it's not going to be
100%.
Yeah, I won't be as your best way of getting better. But I'm glad he is getting better because as a fight fan, I was a little concerned there. He was not able to block some jabs against Tyson Fury in the first 2-3 fights. But anyway. All right, guys. So topic number 2, round number 2. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Charlo facing off against one another on September 30th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. You can see it on the DAZN pay-per-view network. The two fighters have agreed to fight at 168. This is actually very much a historical matchup here, as the first time in this case the two fighters be facing off who are undisputed male boxers be facing off the first time in the ring as undisputed four belt champions, basically 4-belt era. So, moving on here, knockout panel. Is this a good move for Jermell Charlo to fight Canelo at this point in time? Moving up from 154 to 168 to fight Canelo. Is that a good move for Charlo? Over to Ryan first.
Is it a good move?
Is it a good move for Charlo to
go up? Is it a good move? Well,
2 weight classes.
he's getting a big payday, so
yes, he is. It's a lottery ticket.
Yeah, it's a lottery ticket. If you look at it that way, then it's definitely a good move, 100%. I don't think he'll make that kind of money with any of the guys at 154.
No. That's a good point. That's right.
No. Yeah, so it's a fantastic move on his part. Now, it's going to be a huge event, like massive event, right? You got two two undisputed guys facing off. It's gonna, and Canelo always brings a huge crowd. So yeah, it's gonna be a huge event. But can the fight live up to the hype, to the event? I don't have a lot of confidence that it will. I just, yeah, like Canelo is just on a different level than Charlo.
Yeah,
100%. Like, and then he's also the bigger man. Although Canelo, you could argue that Canelo is smaller. He's handled bigger guys, right? So I don't think the size. So although he may not be the biggest guy, I just don't think size is going to be a denominator at all.
Now,
so I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Canelo, sorry, you see with Canelo, do you see his skill set's kind of plummeted the last few fights because all the weight up and down stuff going on the last several years? Do you see a decline in Canelo?
There's definitely been a little decline, but not nearly enough to make a difference. No, gotcha. Like if like Jermell Charlo's amazing. Love watching him fight. And then those two fights with Castellano, I'm butchering the name, but great fights. The first fight, Charlo hurt him in the 10th round, didn't get him out of there. Second fight, hurts him in the 10th round, and then does get him out of there. It was an epic fight, fantastic back and forth. But his opponent's nothing like Canelo, right? So there's
levels.
Yeah, I can't imagine in my mind Jermell Charlo pulling an upset, and I'm not all that confident that the fight, like I said earlier, I don't think the fight's going to live up to the hype.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Sorry, I wish I had better news.
No, it's all good, man. Just get your insights over there. Absolutely. It's all about your insights. Over to the.
I'm sure Vegas is going to be rocking that night. But
oh yeah, guaranteed. Guaranteed. Over to the Boxing Prophet. What's your thoughts?
Call me crazy, but I like it when Ryan Ranelli speaks for 15, 20 minutes. The fans want to hear what Mr. Ranelli has to say. I like it. But I'm doing a show, and it's actually, knock on wood, it's been working now for the past 2 or 3 times I've been on the show. I normally do the KnockOut TV show with you guys downstairs in the den, but there was always reception issues. So my mom suggested to me, you should do it in the computer room by the router, and you'll have better reception. And like I said, knock on wood, so far so good. The only thing is the air conditioning is so blaring and so loud that sometimes I can't hear myself thinking. The volume's all screwed up. Yeah. So you'll just have to bear with me, because I feel like, I'm in a room and my head is throbbing from the AC. But in terms of the fight, I actually let me applaud Jermell Charlo for 100%. Daring to be great, moving up 2 weight classes. And when I first heard about it, I'm like, this is nonsense. It's just the easy way out for Canelo. And then I really examined the fight, and I'm like, you know what? Jermell Charlo is a live underdog. And just from an historical perspective, there have been great fighters that have done this before. Let's not forget Sugar Shane Mosley jumped up 2 weight classes and defeated Oscar De La Hoya to win the welterweight championship of the world. And Roberto Duran, the great Hands of Stone, jumped up 2 weight classes to defeat Sugar Ray Leonard for the welterweight title. So I don't know if they had tune-up fights beforehand, but it's been done before. That's my point. And the narrative of this fight is already set, with Canelo Alvarez saying, no one has faith in me anymore. And he even admitted at the press conference, I looked horrible, old, and shot in my last 2 performances against John Ryder and Canelo Alvarez, respectively. And Jermell Charlo saying, even though I'm the undisputed junior middleweight champion, no one gives me the respect that I deserve. And if you look at his body of work, he did destroy Erickson Lubin in 1 round. He beat Austin Trout by a hard-fought decision. But in his two biggest fights in that division, I'm in the minority here. Everyone says that Jermell Charlo got robbed against Tony Harrison in their first fight. I may be in the minority. I thought Tony Harrison put on a boxing clinic. It was a close fight, but I had Harrison beating Charlo 7-5. And also the first fight against Brian Castano, which ended in a draw, I thought Castano won that fight also. I had him winning 7-5. Now, you got to give Charlo credit. He avenged the loss to Harrison by knocking him out, and he avenged the draw to Castano by knocking him out. So this is Charlo's, money fight now. He's moving up 2 weight classes. I think he's afraid that if he takes a tune-up fight and he loses, then he can no longer face Canelo. In a perfect world, I was thinking about it before we came on the air. In a perfect world, the air conditioner went off. Now I can hear myself think. But
little things.
In a perfect world, Canelo would be fighting David Benavidez for the undisputed super middleweight championship of the world, and Terence Crawford would be moving up 1 weight class and facing Jermell Charlo for the undisputed junior middleweight championship of the world. But unfortunately, this is boxing. And even though it's been a banner year for 2023, we still don't always get the fights we want to see. But in terms of the fight itself, Charlo's not the best boxer in the world. He's like Canelo. He gets by with his power punches. He's content to throw like 30 or 40 punches around. He's not that active. They're actually carbon copies of each other, if we're being honest. But I just think the fact that Canelo is regressing, he's living the life of sort of like a guy who's on the back nine. Canelo has been seen out in social circles. He's going to parties now. For his sake, I hope he takes the fight seriously and goes back to the gym. But I can't offer you my pick. It's too hard to fight September 30th, but it's not out of the question that Charlo wins. The only thing that I'm concerned about, of course, are the judges, because I could see Charlo winning 7-5 or 8-4, and then Canelo wins a controversial split decision. I mean, for Pete's sake,
they did it to
I'm losing track of his name. The light heavyweight, not Usyk. Help me out here, Manelli. Bivol. Dimitri Bivol, for Pete's sake, won 10 of 12 rounds against Canelo, and all 3 judges had it 7-5 for Canelo. And Floyd Mayweather dismantled Canelo, won 9 out of the 12 rounds, 10 out of the 12 rounds, and this was before Canelo was even great, and yet a judge scored the fight a draw.
Yeah.
So Charlo's really going to have to make an emphatic statement. He's going to have to hurt Canelo. He's going to have to move him back. There can't be any close rounds. There can't be any swing rounds where judges can score it either way. He's going to have to just beat the living crap out of Canelo to get the nod on the judges' scorecards, or dare I say, even stop Canelo. To win the fight.
To be very aggressive, obviously, as we're all saying here, essentially, in order to have a chance, really, on the scorecards against the judges. That's definitely what he has to do, to be very, very aggressive. Absolutely. We got to ask you guys, too. So let's just say, hypothetically, so this fight, let's just say, hypothetically, after this fight's done, the dust has been settled, Jermell Charlo against Canelo. Do you see, for example, Charlo going back down 154 to take on Crawford? You see this happening as a down the road possibility after this one. It's kind of fast forward. You see Charlo against Crawford down the road after this matchup. Not right away, but down the road. Do you guys see it? Let me ask Richard first this one.
It'll be very, very hard because I think Terence Crawford has already stated that he's not fighting Charlo unless it's for all the belts. And if Charlo beats Canelo, he's the undisputed champion at 168 pounds. I don't think he's going to drop back down 2 weight classes to face Crawford. We also and a great example of this is look what happened to Roy Jones Jr. He jumped up 2 weight classes to win the heavyweight title against John Ruiz. then came back down to light heavyweight to face Antonio Tarver, won a very, very, very close decision in their first fight. Probably showed the most heart he's ever shown in any of his fights. And then Tarver knocked him unconscious in the second round of their rematch. So it's very that you can't keep on jumping up and down in weight.
Not implying that whatsoever. But in this case here, like obviously Charles can jump up to fight Canelo because that's a big payday. You're on from going from like more of a status where you're not the mainstream to now you are the mainstream name and you're making a big time money on a big time world stage. So I can see why you take that risk, go 2 weight classes, but he's not going to stay there. I can't see him staying at 168. That's just too big of a weight class for guys to stay there, unless he really does believe he has the power to stay there for in terms of weight.
Yeah, I guess if he.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ryan.
Go ahead, no, I was just gonna say, I guess if he beats Canelo, he would stay at 168, right? Why not defend those belts? He's got them. I just don't. I don't see him beating Canelo. I can't. I can't see it, but I mean, if he does, he probably stays there. In a perfect world, we get the matches the way Richard described it earlier, right? Benavidez, Canelo, and Crawford, Charlo.
Yeah.
Right. That would be, but unfortunately, boxing isn't always logical. Well, I guess we don't always get what we want. Unfortunately.
Well put. Very true. And at the end of the day, money does talk. And before, it's funny because before we went on the air, I was telling you guys, and I meant it as kind of a joke, but now I guess we can talk about it. That Terence Crawford has stated that he would be willing to face Canelo Alvarez because he wants to be a undisputed champion at 3 different weight classes. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that if Charlo defeats Canelo and decides to stay at 168, or vice versa, Canelo beats Charlo, I could see Terence Crawford maybe jumping up 2 weight classes. I mean, obviously he would have to go to 160 first. I would assume he would. I don't know. But Crawford has been making the circuit now. He's doing things that Terence Crawford is doing stuff now that he should have done before the Errol Spence fight. He's going on multiple talk shows. He's getting all this exposure now where even the casual boxing fan knows who Terence Bud Crawford is. And this is about his legacy. Terence Crawford, for him now, it's big fights. He actually turned down Boots Ennis's challenge and said, I don't want to fight Boots. From now on in, it's only big fights. So assuming, and I hope it doesn't happen, but there are rumors that unfortunately the Errol Spence rematch will probably take place in either December or January. And I think that'll be a shame because, as like Ryan stated a couple of shows, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, maybe Errol Spence shows some sort of improvements in the rematch, but he has no shot. Crawford will win again.
Even at
we'll
154.
See. Maybe, even if it's at 154, but I could see, and like I said, Canelo is on the decline. There are no ands, ifs, ors, or buts about it. So we'll see. Crawford says he only wants, all the belts now. So I think he could. I don't know if he'll win, but I think he wants to face. If Charlo come in, and I guess in a perfect world from Crawford's perspective, maybe Charlo does come back down. If he beats Alvarez, he takes some time off and comes back down to 154. I'm not really sure how this is going to work out, but it'll be interesting.
I think it's be personally kind of hard for him to stay up there. I think he's going to go up there. That's the payday of a lifetime. Absolutely go for it. Push in a bigger stage, bigger level in your sport. So I absolutely can see why he's doing that. But I don't see him staying up there. I could be wrong. I'm not an expert. I'm not Mr. Know-It-All. But I think he'd probably go back down again, 154 afterwards. But that's just me. And plus, as we know, power is kind of hard to follow up the ladder. If you do go up in weight, doesn't mean you're going to go actually now also retain your power from those weight classes below. and be stronger. It's kind of a hard thing to always predict until you actually work it in your training. So it takes a while to get there sometimes. Doesn't necessarily always follow. That's the thing about power. It doesn't always necessarily follow you along the way either. So anyway, those are good points, guys.
Certainly not.
Yeah.
Hey, Richard, did they? So they talked about possibly a rematch, Spence and Crawford. Did they say what weight it would be at?
What before?
Well, according to Errol Spence, he refuses to fight at welterweight anymore. So if Crawford's going to give him the rematch, it's got to be a 154.
Yeah,
that goes without saying. Spence just won't fight at welterweight anymore.
Precisely. Yeah, that's where you kind of left things off at. Exactly. That was it.
But listen, like I said, I respect Crawford. He's a once-in-a-generational talent, but he's got to slow it down a little bit. I mean, Boots Ennis is a really, really good fighter. I just think he needs another couple of tests before he faces Crawford, and I think that'll be, a great fight. Virgil Ortiz Jr., I believe, will eventually go up to 154. He keeps on passing out, trying to make the welterweight limit of 147. So for all intent purposes, Crawford lost that challenger. So really the only guy left to beat in the welterweight division is Boots Ennis. And I think if he fights a couple of top guys and wins, hardcore boxing fans like the three of us will demand that fight. And, Crawford has to slow down a little bit. The legacy defining fights with Jermell Charlo and Canelo Alvarez, if they're meant to be, they're meant to be. But I can see where Crawford's coming from. He was blackballed by the PBC, and he wasn't really. Well, I'm not going to say he wasn't allowed to fight these guys, but you have to cross over to a different promotion. And Terrence was loyal to Bob Arum, and the PBC had all the welterweights. Yeah. That was just a fact. Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, your Dennis Ugas, they all fought for the PBC while Crawford was stuck with Top Rank. So he only fought the best opposition that was presented to him. And now with his resounding victory over Errol Spence, he wants his remaining fights to be only legacy-defining fights. He's in the same boat like as Lomachenko. Lomachenko's like, I don't want to face any top guys. I just want all my remaining fights to be legacy-defining fights. And I guess in Crawford's mind, Boots Ennis hasn't shown that he's a legacy-defining fight yet. But if we're being real, and you're asking any knowledgeable boxing fan right now, as of this date, August 20th, I believe is today's date, 2023. If Terrence Crawford's the number one welterweight, who's the second best? Boots Ennis is the second best welterweight. Right.
But yeah, I agree. He needs a little more time yet, Boots Ennis. I totally agree. He does. But super talented. Man, that guy is definitely the future for sure. The future is here now. Absolutely as well.
He's good. Yeah, if Crawford stays at welterweight, I'd love to see that fight too.
Yeah. But like I said, I think those days of 147 for Crawford, I think they're over. I think too. Unfortunately, I do see like a Jermell Charlo happening more so than a Canelo versus Crawford. That's been more, to me, in my opinion, more likely to happen down the road than a Canelo versus Crawford matchup. I take.
So now that the air conditioning's off and I can hear myself think, what were you guys predicting? I want to hear Ranelli and I want to hear Noel Clubb's early picks for Charlo Canelo. And of course, they're subject to change.
And I actually, I didn't give my prediction other than I thought like Canelo would win. I was actually even like, I was kind of saying that although this is like a huge event and there's going to be a lot of hype behind it because it's Canelo. I don't even think the fight will live up to the hype. Like, I don't even think that the fight will live up to the event. I don't think it's going to be that interesting. Although I know I heard you say, Charlo might pull it off or could pull it off. I don't happen to agree with that, but hey, that would be pretty epic. But and
the amazing thing is I saw them at the two press conferences that they had, and the weight disparity between them has been greatly exaggerated. As a matter of fact, Charlo even looked at one point to be the bigger guy. You know, when he said he says he usually walks around at like 168, 170 when he's not in the gym. So, you know, like I said, you know, if the judges score this down the middle, I think Charlo's got a chance.
That'd be exciting.
I'll tell you, I would be shocked. I'll be shocked if Canelo wins in one-sided fashion. Absolutely.
I hope
shocked.
you're right. That would be way more interesting than what I think it's going to be. So
yeah, right on. I agree. And before we go, Richard, what's your prediction on that one?
I mean, I guess, you know, I'm just craving. I'm biting my nail.
Quickly though,
I want to pick Charlo to win so badly it hurts. But
yeah,
with the judges, it's just
tough.
so impossible. So I think we'll have a great we'll have a great show on October 1st, because you know the night after, I think that all three of us will probably score the fight 7-5, maybe 8-4 Charlo. But my early pick will be typical boxing judges corruption. I like Canelo Alvarez by a highly controversial
I agree.
split
I think it's a close
victory.
fight. Canelo's going to take it, as you know, as per the judging. That's the way she goes. But hey, guys, thanks as always. I want to thank Ryan Ranelli in beautiful Burlington, Ontario, for being on the show here today with us. And of course, the boxing prophet, Mr. Richard Solomon in New York, USA. Thank you as well for joining us here on the show. And thank you for watching, Thank you, folks. And remember, Zingo TV, Miracles for all the news. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, live it. And hey, man, love it. Thanks, folks. We'll see you again real soon. Take care. All the best,
Thanks, Noel.
Thank you.
Thanks.